Welcome to Karma Chronicles. We're dedicated to sharing powerful stories of betrayal, justice, and the long road to healing. If you believe in the power of truth, make sure to subscribe and join our community. I had the proof. The messages, the dates, the lies, it was all right there. I'd practiced what I was going to say 100 times, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened when I finally confronted her. It wasn't the yelling or the crying that broke me. It was the moment she looked me dead in the eye and without a single flicker of remorse, made it all my fault. Before my world tilted on its axis, before the person sleeping next to me felt like a stranger, our life was just normal. It was a comfortable, profound kind of normal, built on shared routines and inside jokes that no one else on the planet would get. It was the way she'd steal the last olive from my plate, knowing I'd only pretend to be annoyed. It was our morning rhythm. Her soft alarm would go off first, and I'd burrow under the covers until the smell of coffee let me know it was safe to come out. We were that couple, the one our friends used as proof that long-term love wasn't a fairy tale. We met in our mid-20s, both a little bruised from past relationships. Our first date was forgettable, just coffee. But our second date, that was magic. We talked for 6 hours on a park bench, the city lights blinking on around us, completely oblivious to time. We talked about everything, our fears, our biggest dreams, our families. It just felt like coming home. In the years that followed, we built a real life. We adopted a scruffy mutt with one floppy ear who was convinced he was a lap dog. We argued about what color to paint the living room. I wanted a calm gray, she wanted a bold teal. We ended up with a muted blue that neither of us loved, but we both smiled because it was our asterisk compromise. Saturdays were for friends, barbecues, and game nights. But Sundays were sacred. Sundays were for us. We'd do the crossword in bed, her leaning against me, debating 7-letter words for stubbornness. We were planning a future, a house with a yard, a trip to see the northern lights. We talked about kids, not like it was urgent, but like it was a certainty. Everything felt like a certainty. The trust between us was like the air I breathed, so constant and vital that I never once thought to question it. It just was. Then the air started getting thin. It wasn't a sudden storm, just a slow, creeping change. It started with her phone. For years, her phone was just an object lying around on the coffee table or the nightstand. Then it started living face down, always. She'd set it down with this quiet, deliberate flip, like a card she didn't want me to see. If I moved it to wipe down a counter, I'd see her shoulders tense up. When I'd ask about her day, the stories got shorter. Fine. Busy. The detailed, funny anecdotes about her coworkers were gone, replaced by one-word answers. She started having more and more work dinners and late nights at the office. It wasn't totally out of the blue. Her job was demanding. But the frequency, the vagueness, something was off. I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was being insecure, that I was the problem. She's just tired, she's just stressed. I even brought it up once, gently. Hey, you seem a little distant. Is everything okay? She glanced up from her laptop, looking annoyed. I'm just exhausted. Work has been brutal. And I accepted it. I wanted to accept it, because the alternative was unthinkable. You want to believe the people you love, even when a tiny voice in your head is screaming that something is wrong. The first real red flag, the one I couldn't explain away, came on a Saturday. She had a last-minute work conference she'd forgotten to mention. She was gone all day and didn't answer my texts, which she later blamed on a dead phone. That evening, I was cleaning out the car and found a receipt in the driver's side door pocket. It was from that afternoon, not from a conference center. It was from a little boutique hotel across town, the kind of place known for being romantic and secluded. The charge was for 2 artisanal cocktails and a shared charcuterie board. My heart didn't drop, it just stopped. I stood there in the garage, the flimsy paper shaking in my hand. The whole world went silent. The hum of the fridge, a neighbor's lawnmower, it all just faded. There was only the receipt and the cold, hard fact that the ground I was standing on wasn't solid at all. It was a trap door. And even then, holding the proof, part of me was desperately trying to find another explanation. Maybe she met a client, maybe it's a mistake, but I knew. The suspicion I'd been pushing down for months finally exploded. I wasn't just in thin air anymore. I was suffocating. The decision to actually go looking for more proof felt like its own kind of betrayal. It felt like I was the one breaking the rules. For days, I fought with myself over it. Part of me was screaming that if you have to look, the trust is already gone, so what's the point? Snooping felt disgusting. It felt like I was becoming someone I didn't want to be. You start to doubt your own mind, your own gut. But another part of me, a more primal part, knew I couldn't live in this gray area of suspicion. The anxiety was a physical thing. I wasn't sleeping. Food had no taste. I needed the truth, no matter how ugly it was. The need to know what was real finally outweighed the guilt of invading her privacy. The chance came on a Tuesday night. She was in the shower, the water running, a steady beat against the frantic pounding in my chest. Her phone was on the nightstand, face down, of course. My hands were trembling when I picked it up. I swiped up. Password screen, my mind raced. Our anniversary, no, her birthday, no. Try again in 30 seconds. The panic spiked. How much time did I have? Then a cold, bitter idea hit me. I thought about the new, secretive her. I typed in the date from the hotel receipt. The phone unlocked. I couldn't breathe. For a second, I just stared at the home screen, at a picture of us on a beach 2 years ago, smiling. I felt sick. Then I opened her messages. It didn't take long. The conversation was with someone named Alex, but the words were disgustingly familiar. The pet names she used for me. The inside jokes we had, just repurposed for someone else. They were planning a future. They had a whole world, a whole secret language, built right in the shadows of ours. The messages were a timeline of her lies. The late nights, the work dinners. They even joked about the boring work conference from the day of the hotel receipt. I scrolled and scrolled, and every message was a new knife twisting. I felt myself just detach. My mind went into this clinical mode just so I could process it all without completely falling apart. I saw messages where she complained about me, about a fight we'd had, something I'd said. She was taking pieces of our life and feeding them to this person, using them to build their secret bond. That was the digital trail, but it led me to the real-world one. I went online to our credit card account. It was all there, hiding in plain sight. Dinners I wasn't at, a weekend trip she'd called a solo yoga retreat, and a charge from a jewelry store for a delicate silver bracelet. I'd never seen it, and I knew with a certainty that hollowed me out that it was on another woman's wrist. Knowing was a special kind of hell. It was so much worse than just suspecting. At least with suspicion, there was a tiny sliver of hope that I was just being crazy. Now there was only the truth, and I had to live with it silently for 3 more days. 3 days of pretending everything was okay. Every single interaction was a performance. I felt like an actor in a play where I was the only one who didn't know the ending. When she kissed me goodbye, I had to fight the urge to flinch. When she'd ask, "What's wrong? You seem quiet," I'd force a smile and say, "Just tired." I was living a double life now, too. The man smiling on the outside and the man screaming on the inside. Every time her phone buzzed, my whole body would clench. Our home, my sanctuary, felt like a crime scene. The couch, the bed, every object felt tainted. I couldn't think straight. I started questioning everything, not just her, but myself. How could I have been so blind? How did I miss all of this? The self-blame started creeping in, twisting around the wreckage of my self-esteem. I was being gaslit, not just by her, but by my own desperate need to believe in the life I thought we had. By the 3rd day, I knew I couldn't do it anymore. The secret was a poison. I had to confront her. I needed this whole tragedy to finally end. I decided to do it on a Sunday night, an ending and a beginning. I spent the day feeling completely numb, my heart hammering against my ribs while I calmly planned what I would say. I rehearsed the first line over and over. I wouldn't yell. I wouldn't cry. I would be calm. I would be in control. She got home around 7, humming, in a great mood. She dropped her keys in the bowl by the door and walked into the living room, where I was just sitting in the dark. "Why are you sitting in the dark? It's creepy," she laughed. I didn't answer. I just watched her until her smile started to fade. "What's wrong?" I took a deep breath. "We need to talk." Her whole face changed. The easy mood was gone, replaced by a guarded, wary look. "Okay. About what?" I kept my voice completely even. "Who is Alex?" For a split second, I saw pure panic in her eyes before she crushed it. If I hadn't been looking for it, I would have missed it. She forced a laugh. "Alex, I don't know an Alex. What are you talking about?" Step 1, denial. It's almost textbook. They deny, and try to make you think why. "Ooh, are the one who's crazy." "Don't lie to me," I said, my voice still quiet. "I know who Alex is." "You're being crazy," she snapped back, her voice getting louder. "I have no idea what's gotten into you, but you're starting to scare me." Step 2, gaslighting. It wasn't just denying the facts, it was denying my sanity. I didn't take the bait. I just reached for her phone on the coffee table beside me and held it up. "The password is the date we went to that hotel, isn't it? The one from your work conference." All the color drained from her face. She just stared at the phone. She knew she was caught. I expected tears, apologies, and a complete breakdown. I got none of that. What I got was so much colder. After a long, heavy silence, she lifted her head, and the fear in her eyes had been replaced by a hard, biting anger. "You went through my phone," she hissed. "You violated my privacy." And there it was. Step 3, the attack. The problem wasn't her cheating anymore. The problem was that I found out. "I did," I said calmly. "And I read the messages, and I saw the credit card statements, the yoga retreat, the bracelet you bought for her." I laid out every single piece of it. I watched her, waiting for just a flicker of shame or remorse. Nothing. When I was done, she crossed her arms, a look of pure defiance on her face. And then she said the words that broke me more than anything else. "Well, what did you expect?" I just stared at her. What did you just say?" "You heard me," she snapped. "What did you expect to happen? Did you really think I was happy?" And then it began, the blame shift. It was an avalanche of all my supposed failures. "You're never present," she said. "You're always off in your own head. I feel like I'm sitting right next to a ghost. We never do anything fun. Our life is so boring. Work, TV, sleep. I needed to feel alive. You stopped trying. You don't compliment me. You don't look at me the way you used to. I've been so lonely for years. I tried to tell you I was unhappy, but you never listen. Alex listens to me." On and on it went. Every little disagreement we ever had, every moment she was ever unhappy, was now twisted into the reason she cheated. I hadn't just been a bad partner. I had forced her to do this. The room started to spin. It was like being stabbed and then blamed for bleeding on the floor. The person who had lied to my face for months was now standing in front of me, not as the person who did wrong, but as the victim. My victim. I've since learned there's a name for this tactic. It's an acronym, DARVO, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. She denied until she couldn't. Then she attacked me for finding out. And now she was reversing the roles, making herself the victim and me the offender. It's a strategy to completely dodge accountability and leave the other person so confused and guilty that they start to question their own reality. "So this is my fault," I finally said, my voice cracking. "You cheating is my fault." "I'm not saying you're entirely to blame," she said, as if she were being generous. "But you need to take some responsibility for the state of our relationship. It takes two to tango." That phrase, "it takes two to tango." A relationship takes two, yes. But the choice to lie, to deceive, and to build a secret life, that choice is made by one. The craziest part was her complete lack of empathy. She wasn't justifying what she did. She seemed angry that I was even upset about it. In her mind, her affair was a logical, necessary outcome of my failures. She felt entitled to it, and I was no longer the victim of her betrayal. I was the architect of her unhappiness. It was the most disorienting, psychologically twisted thing I have ever experienced. Before we get to the aftermath, if this story is resonating with you, take a moment to subscribe to Karma Chronicles. We explore the complexities of human relationships and the strength it takes to walk away. The fight didn't end, it just stopped. After she listed all my faults, there was nothing left to say. I was completely hollowed out. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just in a state of deep, profound shock. She stood there, waiting for me to argue back, to defend myself. I couldn't. I just turned, walked into our bedroom. My bedroom, I thought, and packed a bag. I moved like I was in a dream. She didn't follow me. She didn't try to stop me. I heard her turn on the TV in the living room, and the sound of a sitcom laugh track filled the silence of the house we built. I stayed in a sterile, impersonal hotel room that night, a perfect match for how I felt inside. I just sat on the edge of the bed for hours, replaying her words. The shock wasn't just the affair. It was her reaction. The blame shifting hurt more than the cheating because it erased me. It made my pain, my reality, my entire experience of our relationship completely invalid. The next few days were a blur. I went to work, I answered emails, but I was just a ghost, trapped in a loop of her accusations. Was I a bad partner? Was I distant? The gaslighting had been brutally effective. Even though I knew logically that her choices were hers alone, her words planted these toxic seeds of self-doubt. She texted me 2 days later. No apology, just a demand. "Are you ever coming home to talk about this like an adult? You can't just run away from our problems." In her story, she was still the victim. I was the one who had run away. The affair was now just a side note, a symptom of the real problem, me. Her refusal to even acknowledge the wound she had inflicted told me everything. Any reconciliation would mean I had to accept her version of events, that I was the one who had to change and earn her back. The final decision wasn't one big moment. It was a slow, painful realization. I could either live in her reality, where I was the broken one who needed to fix himself to be worthy of her, or I could choose my own. I chose my own. I finally texted her back and told her I was coming to get the rest of my things. Her response was instant rage. She called me a coward, someone who throws things away instead of fixing them. In her world, I was abandoning her. Her narrative stayed perfectly intact right to the very end. Walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done. But staying would have been a slow-motion act of self-destruction. It would have meant agreeing that I was always at fault, that my feelings didn't matter, and that her choices were my responsibility. The lesson in all of this, the one I learned most brutally, is this: their cheating is not your fault. And when their reaction to being caught is to blame you, it's not an invitation for you to work on yourself. It's a confession. It confesses everything you need to know about their character. It's a giant, flashing sign that they lack the empathy and integrity for a healthy partnership. If you're going through this, if any of this sounds painfully familiar, please hear me. You are not crazy. You are not overreacting. You are not to blame for their choices. Their reaction isn't a reflection of you. It's a reflection of their own chaos and their refusal to be accountable. Do not pick up the blame they are trying to hand you. It only makes their twisted reality stronger and makes your own pain last longer. Rebuilding your trust in yourself after someone you love has torn it down is a long road. It takes time to trust your own gut again. But that journey starts with one step: choosing to believe yourself over the person trying to convince you that your pain is your own fault. You can't control what they did, but you can control your reaction. And choosing to walk away, to reclaim your sanity and your self-worth, is the most powerful reaction of all. Thank you for being with us on Karma Chronicles. If this story touched you, please like, subscribe, and share your own thoughts on healing and self-worth in the comments below. Your story matters, too.